Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. So let's waste no time. Oh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. Marijuana pushback. David Skolnick has a piece out of the Vindicator published May 22nd. The article shows a pushback on legal marijuana in Youngstown. Now, according to the report, the moratorium on recreational marijuana will be 1 year. That's what the report says. Now, the article highlights laws that give cities the right to decide how they want to govern their communities in regards to the sale of marijuana. Now, it also gives city council members views on recreational marijuana, recreational marijuana subjects. So the article also talks about how they feel. Now, the piece also explains how some members want a 2-year pushback. So this is they really don't want this in the community. Some people. Now, so far, about 50 communities in Ohio have enacted moratoriums or bans on recreational marijuana, showing that it is facing a lot of opposition, which probably is good. This story is still developing. That's why story number 1 made it this week. Story number 2. Unmanned speed cameras back in the news. The unmanned speed camera story is back in the news. It appears that the frozen plan will restart in the fall. Now, what held up the unmanned speed cameras in the first place was a disagreement on how or if the court would hold hearings on contested speed citations in school zones from the unmanned cameras, according to an article by David Skolnick. Now, when the cameras were in use for 3 months, there were 22,424 speeding citations issued, in which the city collected 596,318, and the company that supplies the camera received about 35% of that money. Now, the article ends by explaining why Youngstown has decided to use cameras in the first place. The report states that they don't have enough police to patrol the areas. That's what the report says. Now, this story is still developing. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. June election is facing opposition. The June 11th election is facing some opposition from 3 African-American Youngstown residents who are suing to invalidate Ohio's congressional map. Now, their claim is that it disenfranchises black voters. This story amplifies the debate going on in conservative circles on what is taking place. Well, all of what is the debate that's going on right now. This is full-fledged on what is taking place in the political aisles on both sides when it comes to race and voting. The story is still developing, so both sides is in the mix, and one side has a point and one side has another point. That's why story number 3 made it. Story number 4. Mergers are causing a stir as communities prepare for the worst. JT Whitehouse has a piece explaining how Canfield and Boardman have shot down their plans to merge. EMS services have remained consistent in the headlines due to levy talk and the fact that these services are expensive to have. Now, the next solution is a levy, which many Boardman residents do not want. This story is still developing. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Story number 5. Niles receives money for streetlights. Niles is set to receive a portion of $3.1 million in grants for 10 Ohio communities. The city will receive $491,207 to place 890 streetlights with LED fixtures. Now, according to the article by Mason Cole, the project is expected to yield an annual utility savings of 66%. The goal is to become energy efficient, according to Niles. Story number 6. $800,000 for a community center in Youngstown. Youngstown City Council has decided to move forward with plans to spend nearly $800,000 of Youngstown's American Rescue Plan funds to renovate an old McDonald's on Market Street on the city's south side. The city plans to use the funds for a community center. The ordinance passed with a 6-0 vote. Story number 6 also made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 7 and the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week to keep you informed locally, internationally, stories that you may need to understand, to make sense of. Like I said, I'm not a perfect being, but I do try to do the right thing and just keep you informed. Story number 7. Niles is happy about some downtown projects. $3.5 million is the amount set to come to Niles through the state of Ohio's Appalachian Community Grant Program for 2 downtown projects. Entertainment and outdoor recreation is what the city plans to use the money for, according to Niles Mayor. The report by Mason Cole details how the city of Niles plans to spend the money. That's why story number 7 also made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 in the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week on Memorial Day. Remembering all those who have sacrificed, showing you that freedom is worth fighting for, and showing you that even me, the veteran, doing this show, I'm still sacrificing my time, resources, and life, volunteering to keep you informed. Show me some love. Story number 8. Cavelli Center is in the black so far. They're in the black. $233K surplus. They've seen a surplus. That's positive news. That's why it made it to the top. Everybody, bad news, bad news. This is positive. The Cavelli Center is on a hot streak, according to a report by David Skolnick published May 17th by the Mediator. The city-owned Cavelli Center has started the year with 3 sold-out shows and a $233,014 operating surplus in the first quarter. Story number 8 made it to the top this week. Finally get some good news in the city of you. That's why story number 8 made it to the top this week. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
What does Method8inc.com Media Center have that I need?
Small prints, event consulting, photography, business consulting, technical consulting, entertainment consulting, fundraising advice, event videography, movies, news, publishing, media, books, entertainment, acting, broadcasting, public relations, access to the visual and performing arts, ink and black ink refills, audio recording, graphic design, theater, minor computer and cell phone repair, and they're located at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. The list goes on and on.
Method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Oh yeah! And yes, we are chipmunks.
Right shoulder, arm. Forward, march. Left, 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 right, left, 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 right, left, left. Right, legs. Ho! Forward. Right leg. Left. Forward. Left. Left. Detail. Hold. Raise and march. Prepare to fire. 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 Freeze and halt.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Memorial Day weekend. I'm a veteran. I am a veteran. Served in the war on terror. Somebody would ask me, what do you remember about your combat experience? I remember seeing the look on every sailor's face, especially when we had to go into the war on terror. I remember that years ago, it was over 20 years ago, I had to be in that problem that we had. And I do remember we used to get groups, and every veteran would always ask, how did you end up in the military? How did you end up? We all have the same story. You know, we see the recruiter, and we didn't really have much in our life. Some of us volunteered for specific reasons. I volunteered to better myself, to go to college. And you never know when your life is going to be in danger, but it's when you're serving the country, it's high risk. So I remember a lot of things, looks on everybody's faces, and that job is never easy, especially when you have to move on into civilian life. And every story is different, so I do know that if you do take the time this Memorial Day, that you'll take the time to remember and take the time to listen, because many of us are still on the battlefield, and it really is tough serving this country, I'm not going to lie. And I'll never forget, it was like yesterday fighting that war. How many days you got to be out to sea? Over 365 days. No ports. Can't hit no ports. We got to drink reverse osmosis ocean water. Most people are like, oh, hell no. And on top of that, you got to run through the desert and over 100 degrees. People passing out for freedom. Woo! Talk to a Navy SEAL, he'll tell you. Remember, God damn it, Lord willing, God, I said God, not God, God damn it. Remember. Hug a veteran, show him some love. Even in the civilian world, it's not easy. Remember. If I got to say God damn it again, it'll help you remember. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 1. India's growth is in the headlines. One Forbes report highlights India's rise in the global supply chain. The article explains how India will be the world's 3rd largest economy by 2027, with a GDP of $5 trillion, bypassing Germany and Japan. The piece goes on to explain how India is emerging as a reliable alternate destination for manufacturers. The entire piece talks about India's growth, positioning them to be a huge player in the global economy. The story is still developing. Let's make it in the top 8. Big. Story number 2. India's making their money. If they making some money, why can't we all make some money? Story number 2. The auto industry is fighting to get through all of the red tape. Forbes has an article explaining how Biden's new tariffs on China could impact the U.S. auto industry. The piece, written by Frank Holmes, basically explains how China has 71 EV models that would kill the Tesla brand, but a 100% tariff imposed on the Chinese people could prevent this from happening. Well, China, period. The article does cite unfair trade practices as a factor, while also protecting American industries, in which the CHIPS and Science Act, along with the Inflation Reduction Act, may swing the pendulum towards Biden's direction on how he plans to protect American businesses. The biggest talking point made headed into a pivotal election is the fact that Trump started the trade war, which could push the pendulum back in his direction as this story progresses if the tariffs prove to be helping American businesses once the data comes in. That's why story number 2 made it this week. Story number 3. Iran says goodbye to their president. What does that mean? The Wall Street Journal has a headline focusing on a helicopter crash that has killed Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi. Now, the article mentions technical issues and goes on to explain how they will probably unlikely to be any significant changes in the country's foreign policy, while also pointing out more challenges ahead for Iran. The crash is still being investigated before the airing of this show. When I read the story is still developing. Abraham Razi, rest in peace, Big B. Story number 4, Trump's trade war and the middle class. According to CNN, Trump's new trade war would cost middle class families at least $1,700 a year. The piece goes on to explain how Trump's unprecedented trade proposals would inflict significant collateral damage on the U.S. economy, costing consumers at least $500 billion a year, or 1.8% of gross domestic product. This is according to the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Now, the piece goes on to explain how these policies would probably do more harm rather than good for American families. That's why story number 4 made it this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I'm right back to the top 4. So don't you go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'm right back.
Aunt Tasha, she said that you can be dumb and still make a lot of money.
Don't be deceived, okay? Just get the work done. Get your work done. Graduate. You'll be successful. Don't be deceived. I told you that. Now hit the books.
Mom's not coming back, is she, Dad?
What test scores again?
Every teacher is in here day and night, and it's not our fault.
Uriah aced her random proficiency test because you helped her. She's the first student in this city's district to ace that test.
So did he pay?
No, who only paid that?
Apply the pressure.
Hey, get that mess out of here!
Titi, you picked this district, Titi. I'm going to Puerto Rico. Me voy a Puerto Rico, Titi. Cálmate. Calm down. ¿Cómo que me calme? How am I calm down? You had us come here, Titi. How can I protect myself? That's all I need for you to help me with. How do I protect myself?
Oh, they're not gonna hurt you.
If this is what I get for being a good student and acing a test, I'd rather have failed.
I never told you that being good would be easy.
Clear target, cannot miss.
Home for his little girl. Take me.
They're in danger.
I won't tell you how this is going to end, Laura, but my history professor once told me, in order to prevent a genocide, you first have to kill the dictator.
Just like you made a choice to get this coin, you will have to make a choice to pass life into this world.
We have no hope, Precious. Look at us. We're both high-class girls with little-class lives.
Precious, be encouraged. Your life is about to change.
No, I didn't think maybe I just woke up and it was gone.
It seems you're pregnant, young lady.
There's a riot! What's moving us? You're out of control!
If I let you in, you must undo this mistake.
Even if you are pregnant, I'm gonna throw you down the flight of freaking stairs if I gotta get rid of this baby.
Okay, Walton, okay, I'll get rid of the baby.
To Methodate's YouTube channel to check out the top interviews that made it throughout the years and months. Visit Method88.com. Check out all the community interviews if you want to check it out. Method88.com. Buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Oh yeah. Welcome back, welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made this week on Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day on Monday if you're watching the show, or if you're watching the show in the future. I'm in the past. Welcome to the future. Memorial Day. Protecting the rights, freedom, the Constitution, to serve and protect the Constitution of the United States of America. On several occasions, I've sworn on oath. I've worked for the Department of Defense, the Navy. And on top of that, I work for the federal government, work for the post office. So I've served in 2 insane government fields. And folks, what I remember is the torture, the fact that the stuff you have to deal with. And I was telling my mother the other day, I remember one day at boot camp when we had to clean the floors with toothbrushes because somebody did something crazy. Some people tried to escape boot camp. Somebody pissed on the toilet paper rolls. And yes, we had to clean the floors with toothbrushes. And we were tired. We had been marching all day, and we only had a certain amount of time to sleep and get up to eat breakfast to serve this country. And I remember Best. His name was Best. I'm not going to tell you his first name, but don't know where he's at right now. But this was over 20 years ago. And he knew I was about to snap. I never forget this story because in the military, you will see people snap. You will see people lose their mind. And you will see things that you never thought you'd see, especially not in the civilian world. You probably see things in the civilian world, but in the military, you see it all. And he looked at me and he said, "Brian, don't do it. Just calm down. You'll be okay." And that's when I started understanding the brotherhood and what it meant to serve and the fact that you have to give it all. And this Memorial Day, we have to remember the sacrifices and the fact that some gave all and some gave some. I gave some and I almost gave it all. So I remember that, and I remember all the battles that we've lost and won. Take the time to remember, folks, because even if you don't like it, you may not like the person in charge, you may not even like the people, you may not like the president, but the idea of freedom is a great idea. Let's waste no time, folks. Let's get to it. Story number 5. Palestinians are fighting to tell their side of the story. American Palestinians and other activists have been in a lot of headlines explaining their stance when it comes to the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. In what could be leaning towards a 2-state solution between Palestine and Israel, overall, this appears to be a very, very touchy topic that's causing a lot of confusion and unusual uprisings against Zionist beliefs. This story is still developing. That's why story number 5 made it this week. Story number 6. Immigration continues to cause a stir. The Hill has a piece explaining how the Hispanic caucus says that a border bill would set back real comprehensive immigration reform by years. This is a bipartisan Senate border deal opposing both its content and its potential to upend any forward motion to reform the immigration system. This is according to a report by Raphael Bernal published May 22nd. Now, the bill puts forth enforcement-only policies, but fails to include provisions that will keep families together. The piece also states how the bill excludes critical protections and legal pathways for families, farm workers, and America's dreamers who have been contributing to the U.S. economy. Immigration continues to remain a hot topic on both sides of the political aisles, thus making this a top story that almost got to the top 2 this week. Big headline. Story number 7 and the top 2. International headlines in developing. News story that made it this week. Onward, soldier, soldier. Memorial Day. Memorial Day, if you're watching this in the future, in the past, it's Memorial Day today. Story number 7. As the global market shifts, America is on high alert. MoneyWise has a headline stating that the Wall Street Bear is predicting the biggest market crash since 1929. The article then proceeds in detail, focusing on the credit market, commercial and real estate, retail, and the cost of living. It is clear that there is a lot of uncertainty in the market at the moment as investors scramble to find safe places to invest and store money, thus leaving many Americans on high alert. This story is still developing. That's why story number 7 almost made it to the top this week. Big headline. Story number 8 to the top. International headline and developing news story that made it this week. Rumbling and stumbling, jumping over barricades, dodging bombs, jumping over Android drones, and on top of that, diving out of a plane just for the freedom and greater good of the American people to establish equality and peace for everybody. Story number 8. On Memorial Day, recession fears grow. Turn rate. According to a Business Insider headline, a recession is almost certain with 19 states in trouble already, according to experts. The piece goes on to explain how a recession threatens to pummel households, businesses, and the stock market. The piece goes on to mention a tighter credit market, with banks holding back on lending, and how unemployment has jumped in 19 states, concluding the bullet points that a recession is almost inevitable in 19 states, according to Nancy Lazar. Now, the entire piece is all about money. If you want to check it out, the story is still developing. That's number 8 made to the top 2 because we're talking money and the market. Big headlines. Well, folks, those are top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made this week. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something done doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, journalists, people on the front lines. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the mediator, the man in the middle, navigating your stories just to keep people informed. If you wanted to show us some support here at Method 8, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Or you can stop at the store at 5648 Market Street in Boardman, Ohio. See my smiling face, shake my hand, tell me how crazy I am for volunteering my time to serve when I could be out having a good time and doing something unconstructive. Well, folks, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories. I'm out of here. Happy Memorial Day. I'll be back next week. Look through over 200 or more stories just to keep you informed, Lord willing. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the Mediator this week with me, Brian West. Peace.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.